Hello everybody, this is the Voyage, and today we're going to talk about the importance of a name, the importance of the title of your movie. What if Blade Runner would have been called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That sounds like a stupid comedy or something like that. And I don't think that Blade Runner would have retained the, awesome legacy it has if it would have been called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheeps. It would just have been looked at, well, some movie. Do you think Denis Villeneuve would have made Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep 2049? We wouldn't have. So, the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea sounds like some kind of a Jules Verne adventure or something like that. It sounds kind of mundane, but imagine the Swedish title for this one. SOS, Jorden brinner, or SOS, the Earth is on fire. It both, tells us that this is a disaster movie and the urgency that the Earth is on fire. Oh my God, this is going to be fucking awesome. Was The Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, however, worthy of such an amazing title? That's what we're gonna find out today. This is The Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea by Irving Allen. He plays an admiral on a nuclear submarine. They are in the Arctic, and all of a sudden they're seeing that the ice above them is cracking, and that huge chunks of ice are flying across them and trying to kill them. They should probably tell them that ice float, you idiots. I will say that both G.I. Joe and this movie made this mistake, so maybe it's an epidemic, but ice floats. It's about as clear as I can come. But now, after they have avoided the icebergs that cannot sink them, they surface and they see that the sky has turned red. This very ominous change in sky color is because of a asteroid belt that is traveling around the world and has basically set the sky on fire, and the global temperature is rapidly rising. Now, the Admiral believes that he can, from the correct point, if he can shoot a missile towards the asteroid belt, it will burn it out and the humanity will be saved. But most scientists seem to believe that shooting a missile at this thing will, end humanity immediately. And they argue that this thing will burn out by itself. When it reaches 77 Celsius degrees, it will, decline and everything will go back to normal. And but the Admiral is very headstrong about this, and Walter Pidgeon thinks that humanity will be, end in 3 weeks if they don't do anything. So he goes off without waiting for the confirmation from the president of doing this action, and now they're basically on a rogue mission, trying to stop the asteroid belt from, destroying the humanity. But maybe, the Admiral is wrong about this one. Then they will absolutely end humanity. So, right away, you can see that there is a really good story lurking around here. And, the people on the submarine, and you care about them, and, they have their, quirks, and they have their characters and stuff like that. And it could have been really, really good. However, they decided to put a lot of hurdles in front of, the excellent ending. We have to instead fill it with, all these, very long, very drawn-out sequences that has basically nothing to do with the Earth-ending things. Also, we very rarely get to see anything of the destruction, from above. We get to hear, oh my God, you should have seen, when the last animals were trying to get to, the last, rivers before they dried up there. It was very spectacular or something like that. You get to hear that, but you don't get to see it. Show, don't tell. And that was one thing that made me a little bit, We're simply spending too much time on this boat doing nonsensical things. For example, the giant squid. why is there a giant squid in a fucking movie about, you know, the sky being on fire and the world is ending? It should have been cooked and made into calamari at this point. And you know, when they're sneaking across the minefield, and it's just a lot of stuff that goes on in this movie that is so irrelevant, because you're having the fantastic story about, is the Admiral correct or is he wrong? Is he in fact dooming the entirety of humanity just because he so strongly believes that what he's doing is correct? Now, it doesn't help the fact that there is a lot of rather hokey acting in this one, except from Peter Lorre, who is of course fantastic. He's always great. Now, I don't object to the fact that the entire screen is filled with Barbara Eden's ass as she's twerking her ass off for some reason for a considerable length of time, like she's believing that she's in Nicki Minaj or a Cardi B video. But is it really necessary to the plot? We also have the possibility, of course, that there is a traitor among them, a saboteur, who doesn't want them to succeed. Why? What agenda does he or she have? That is also a very interesting story, but it's kind of pushed to the side for, you know, all of these, you know, stuff that we have to go through to get to the fantastic ending. The ending is great. The ending has all the, you know, tension and all the fantastic stuff going on, all the, you know, high drama. Unfortunately, by that point you have kind of checked out a little bit. Now, it doesn't help that this movie has rather soddy special effects and, you know, all the hokey acting, as I mentioned before, but at least the ending is really good. And the entire setting on the submarine is also really impressive, and it looks big and spectacular. And Irving Allen is a really good director when it comes to these big disaster movies like Poseidon or The Towering Inferno. Granted, he also did Beyond the Poseidon and The Swarm, but we won't hold that against him, not entirely. He's you know, both called Master of Disaster when it comes to the movies, but in the later years of his career called the Master of Disaster because of, you know, disaster at the box office. But anyway, should you see this movie? The story is very fascinating, but the execution is a little so-and-so. And yes, I know that, you know, this is the early 60s, they made movies in a different way back then, and I'm okay with that. But in this particular things, it was just so fascinating, the story that they had, but didn't do because of either, you know, Allen's own ideas or, you know, interference from the studios or what have you. But this is a movie I would like to have a really good remake of. By the way, when I'm talking about, you know, these 60s, 50s, 70s movies, you know, with high concepts, you know, that was made for, you know, a little bit too little money, I always thinking, damn, I really wish that they could do a remake of this one. Usually I hate when people do remakes of stuff, but in this particular case, I think it could be really, really impressive because they would do it as a psychological thriller, not as this, you know, squid fighting, mine avoiding, and Barbara Eden's ass shaking. It would just be, you know, one side versus one side. You could easily have, you know, this super tight, very claustrophobic submarine movie. Instead, we're having this, and it is okay. It's not a terrible movie, but it is a little lackluster in its execution. As many older movies, it has some pacing issues, and the acting is, as I said, a little, you know, hokey, and it feels like you could have cut lots of stuff and people wouldn't have minded at all. But I'm still gonna give this movie 40 points because the framework of the story is so great and the ideas of the movies are just so great, and the ending is really spectacular and really, really high drama to it. An uneven picture, not a bad movie, not a good movie, but a pretty okay movie. So we'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.